Welcome to another edition of Bases and Balls with Tribe broadcaster Jim Rosenhaus. This week, I'm Ray Horner and Rosey. I guess let's talk injury front. And first of all, let's get the update that came down on Wednesday, and that pertained to Aaron Civale with the sprain in the finger. I know you guys were elaborating on the broadcast, and then we got the diagnosis that came down. Talk about Civale's injury.
Well, Ray, I mean, and it is what you mentioned, a sprain of the middle finger. But I guess the key is it sounds like 4 to 5 weeks before he can return to pitching in games. So we'll see how that goes. He's not going to pick up a ball for a couple of weeks, and then we'll see how quickly he can ramp up and if everything's okay with that finger. Because, you just wonder how it happened, why it happened, and how to prevent it in the future, all of which could be difficult questions to answer right now until he gets back at it.
We've been able to dodge that starting pitching injury bug for quite some time, but I have to be honest, I don't know if I've ever seen pitchers 1, 2, and 3 all on the disabled list for a team at the same point. We've been really snake bitten here.
Yeah, it's a shame. And a couple of years back, there was a season where Clevenger and Kluber went down early on, and I think Carrasco might have been down a little bit too. And that gave Bieber and Civale and Plesac their initial chance in the major leagues, but it wasn't to this extent. Man, what a mess. But, I don't know how many teams could have their entire starting rotation that they began the year with not participating now, and then yet still have a winning record and be within shouting distance of first place. It's remarkable. It really is.
Bases and Balls with Tribe broadcaster Jim Rosenhaus. And Rosey, let's continue down that road and give us the intel of what you know, because I know you're not a doctor or anything, but what you know on the different injuries. And let's stay with that starting rotation. How about an update on Plesac? I know you guys have been talking on the broadcast that he's been making very good progress. And then an update on Shane Bieber, of course.
Yeah, well, let's start with Bieber. He's still not picking up a baseball. He's been he's on the trip with the team, but strictly conditioning work at this point. But Plesac, he's been throwing his bullpens and starting to incorporate the breaking stuff. So Ray, I don't think he's that far from being able to go out on a rehab assignment, which is really encouraging.
Rosey, educate us a little bit. You were talking Plesac as a starting pitcher. And, of course, these guys ramp up during spring training. How long will it take Plesac, since he's been out for quite some time, to ramp that up where he can get back into the rotation?
I think if he throws well twice in the minor leagues on a rehab assignment, they may just say, hey, come on back. And it might be a situation where they're not going to wait for him to get up to 90 pitches. I mean, they've been doing that for a while anyway, with so many of the pitchers who were in the bullpen, just trying to get 50 to 60 pitches out of them and see how far they get. They might do that with Zach Plesac and get him up here, at least let him start and throw well for however long he can, and then gradually increase the amount of pitches he can throw. But, if he can throw him up here and he's effective, why not?
Rosey, let's go to position players. How about Franmil Reyes, who a big thumper in the middle of our order with that strain? How is his progress coming?
Well, he's out on a rehab assignment now. He played for Columbus on Monday night, and he's been with them through the week now. Same with Roberto Perez. He started on Tuesday night down at Columbus. So between the two of them, that's encouraging. With them, I think it's just a matter of building up where they can play an entire game. In Reyes' case as a DH, if he can, get 4 at-bats or whatever, and how he handles those and recovers the next day. That's the biggest key. But for them, it's probably a timing issue. Once they get their timing down, I think you'll see them back here. And I don't know if that's a week, 10 days, less than that. I don't know.
Rosey, and that will be interesting, won't it, the way things have developed in the last couple of weeks with Franmil on the disabled list. We've seen some guys step up a little bit into those outfield positions. Obviously, Franmil will probably move into a DH role, but that's going to cause a little bit of a roster shuffle for the Cleveland Indians. Not so much with Roberto Perez. I mean, he's a Gold Glove winner. He'll move in to his position there behind the plate. But when Reyes comes back, there will be a little bit of adjustment with some of these guys who have had some of their playing time increase or even got the call up from Columbus.
Yeah, that's true. And Austin Hedges he's on his way back from the concussion IL. So you could conceivably have two catchers activated. And what do you do with the two who are here? So yeah, there's going to be some hard decisions because so many of the players who have filled in during these injuries have done a really nice job. And you'd love to be able to keep them in the organization if you can. There's some roster issues there. They could be, made available to other teams on the waiver wire, that type of thing to get them through. So there's it's great that your regulars are coming back, but they're going to try and figure out a way to keep the depth as well.
What's your observation now? We're about 3 weeks into this. You and I talked initially when Bradley Zimmer came up and how he gave us an impact right away, especially with the glove. Talk about him 3 weeks into this now. You've seen him a lot of games, a lot of at-bats, a lot in center field. How's he doing in your assessment?
Well, it's wonderful to have a regular center fielder, a outfielder who plays center, and it's noticeable when he is out there. Balls don't drop in. He gets to some balls in the gap that just haven't been gotten to. So that's without question a plus. He's still a work in progress at the plate, no question. He still strikes out quite a bit. He's trying to work through that and figure out what works best for him. But the one thing that I think we have seen, he's been a little more patient at the plate, and also that willingness to just try and get the ball in play, because he can, a ground ball on the infield, he can beat it out for a base hit. We've seen that already in a bunt single the other night in Chicago. So that part of it's good. And I think the rest of it will come along as he gets more at bats.
Well, we saw in center field 2 really nice plays Sunday in Pittsburgh against the Pirates in what possibly could have been big hits for the Pirates, and Bradley Zimmer was able to make 2 really nice plays on those. And then I wanted to wrap it up today when going back to the pitching and the starting pitchers and having to plug in relievers and the rotation and all that comes under that pitching umbrella. I'm sure you've had conversations with Carl Willis. Talk to him on how he has maybe had to pivot during this baseball season with pitch counts and players availability and matchups and analytics, because he has guys in this rotation he probably didn't plan on back in April.
I think the biggest difference for him is in a normal season, you plan out your rotation 5 days in advance and you set it and forget it, so to speak. But they actually have had to have meetings after almost every game to figure out what they're doing tomorrow based on what happened in that game tonight. So that's really different for them. We're talking about him and Tito. Somehow they're doing it and piecing it together and kind of taking inventory after each game of what they have available. And it has worked out so far. So that's the biggest difference. He probably has a lot more to do after the games than normal.
So far, so good in putting those pieces to the puzzle together each and every night. Bases and Balls Tribe broadcaster Jim Rosenhaus. He joins us each week here on WAKR. Rosey, as you know, I always appreciate it. Thanks again for the time, my friend.
You got it, Ray. Thanks.